Alright, hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Mouse Mana and what's a Virus Sattini here on Jungle Basin. Virus Sattini spawned as the yellow Terran player on the north side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Mouse Mana spawning on the south side of the map. Started the game a little bit into the game so I could try to get this. Actually, not going to tell you why I started a little bit early, but yeah, also don't like to see those early ads about replay sites. Kind of annoying. I think this one actually had like 3 or 4 of them because it jumped from one replay site to another. Anyways, back to the game. We now see Mana moving out with a probe. Not an early probe. You got to remember this is a minute and 30 seconds into the game, so this is not any cheese play. As this probe now walking up that ramp, taking a look at the production tab, you see that there is a pylon here, and now continuing to just train up more and more probes. We'll probably set up a gateway, and then after the gateway is down, after this probe is done, maybe start chrono boosting it. Then wants to make sure that he doesn't waste any chrono boost. There he goes. May try to, no, not doing any chrono boost. Alright, so a little bit wrong in that assessment there. One probe, Pepe the probe, now down to 5 hit points as he's running away from Stevie the SCV. However, the probe does move a little, or the same speed as that SCV, and now as that probe is able to start naturally recharging its shields, trying to go back for more, and now down to 8 shields, so it will only take 3 shots in order to get taken down. Will the probe be able to get any damage dealt? I do not think so, as now we see one SCV trying to wander around on the inside. He does see that there is a gateway currently being warped in, and gas, making sure that there is not any sort of proxy gateway strategy. Now this probe now trying to move back around, still being able to come into here. We now see an upgrade to an orbital command. The probe may try to do a gas block, but that's really expensive for a Protoss player to do, even if their assimilator does have more shields and hit points than a refinery or an extractor from a Zerg player. Back over here, we now see this one SCV just continuing to wander around as this probe, perhaps trying to set up a proxy pylon, and now scouting over here on this high ground. So we'll see what exactly is going to be happening. As a Marine now walking up this ramp, the probe does see this, and this now needs to be careful, trying to pull away from that one Marine. It looks like as though that one Marine will try to activate this Onaga watchtower here. And this probe doing a great job staying in this fight. Maybe able to get some damage onto that one SCV. No, not going after that SCV. That probe does have the same amount of hit points between shields and hit points there. And now this SCV just wandering around. And a second barracks being placed down by Sattini. Taking a look at Mana. Mana does not see the second barracks being placed down here. So it is going to be a very aggressive tactic. One Marine now trying to come down. Will be able to take down this probe. This probe has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. We will not be able to take down those destructible rocks, and there it goes. Now, we do see one probe now making its way down over here, one sentry, and now one stalker being built, in addition to another gateway and a robotics facility. So it looks as though it is going to be, a 2-gate with a robo facility, and then perhaps another robotics facility. Interestingly enough, Mouse Mana not getting warp gate. Spoke too soon, as all Protoss players get warp gate. It's one of those abilities that you just simply have to get. It decreases the production time across all units. Also, I would call it front loading your unit production, allowing your units to be trained up in 5 seconds instead of the full 26 or 32, depending on what unit you are trying to build. Marauders and one Marine trying to make their way up the ramp. We do see one sentry here. That sentry will be able to get some force fields there. And now those Marauders and Marines deciding to pull back. We now see a reactor being built down on this barracks over here. So it is going to be a two racks, one tech lab, one reactor push, as a probe now trying to make its way off across the map once again. Observer is currently being built. You got to remember, in patch 1.1 or 1.2, the Observer does cost 25 gas less and 25 mineral less. And one probe quickly getting taken down, however, as this one Observer will be able to make its way across the map in just a moment. Sattini now setting up a bunker here on this high ground, will be able to offer a lot of protection. However, Jungle Basin really favors Protoss players in the early game. The Terran player has to really be careful, make sure no pylons are here, otherwise they're going to have a lot of units being warped in along this backside, and now denying this natural expansion here. We now see there is one Nexus being placed down here, so Mouse Mana going more for a macro game. And the longer this game goes, the better it will be for Mana, as Sattini now going into 2 racks into a factory and now a starport build. Interestingly enough, there is double gas, and those 2 refineries a little bit far away from each other. Wasn't able to catch them both at the same time. We do see a scanner sweep. That one Observer almost taken down. There it goes, but 50 minerals, 700 gas, and being exchanged for all of this scouting information here. One probe activating this Onaga Watchtower, able to gain sight, and I like this play so far coming in by Mana. Mana doing a great job of just trying to make sure that he contains his opponent. There is a missile turret here, and I also like this play by Sattini. Sattini getting a missile turret in order to make sure that there are no Void Rays offering sight. Normally, a Protoss player is able to get Void Rays with that range of 6, gain some sight, shoot from the low ground up onto that high ground to take down that missile turret, and have that Void Ray start charging up on the supply depot before rushing into that bunker. We now see a large army making its way out, combat shield nearing completion, and we now also see a starport double training medevacs, and these marauders simply going straight for this backdoor location here. That's going to be very, very dangerous for this one pylon and all of these probes, as this backdoor is going to get taken down very quickly, and now medevacs coming in as support, so the timing is going to be absolutely perfect. Stalkers and sentries now going to try to deal some damage over here, but those medevacs will be able to offer some support, and I'm not quite sure what the rate of healing on those medevacs are. I should probably read up on it. But yeah, that's going to offer a lot of healing across multiple units. And there is Stim Pack and Concussive Shell being researched. So the one probe trying to hide over here, quickly getting shot down, and now these destructible rocks getting taken down. We do see 2 sentries in this group, and those sentries, 3 sentries are in that group, and will be very, very critical in offering those force fields, making sure to split up that army. And it looks as though Virus Sattini doesn't want to engage just quite yet. He was just trying to test the waters with that backdoor, perhaps trying to see if he could bait. Now does a scanner sweep there, reveals that the army is still there, and now does not want to engage against that army. Those sentries are just so scary, just because they're able to just split up that army so easily. We now see 1 medevac in the air, 6 Marines. And that medevac is just going to sit off in this position. Mouse Mana moving out with this army, and now he sees that there is 1 medevac and a couple marauders in the air, and he may be moving out with this force a little bit too fast, and now Sattini will be able to get a drop off into this base as soon as he realizes that that force has been taken down. Quickly taking down that probe here, and now does he scout out the fact that there is nothing there? Does not see anything so far. There's a lot of sentries now returning all the way home. Stalkers now up on that high ground, and in comes the drop here. The drop now, Marines moving out, doing a lot of stim, doing a great job here. We do see a couple sentries, and now Guardian Shield trying to be used. Now trying to focus down a couple of those sentries. The sentries are getting taken down relatively quickly. Now 1 medevac now completely taken down there, but the Marines have disrupt the mining, now going after some of those probes, microing, trying to get some last bit of damage in there, as we are now going to get another drop onto the high ground location here. However, I do not think this is going to be effective, especially as the army is already in transition. Marines and Marauders now dropping in, 1 probe taken down, a couple of probes now trying to pull back out, trying to get back into that medevac in order to get away. The Stalkers may be able to get a lot of damage dealt, and down it goes, yeah. So Sattini completely mistiming that attack, not realizing that the Stalkers were going to be able to get over there in time, and now Sattini is in a world of hurt. Even though Sattini tried to use multiple medevacs, trying to get multiple drops, unable to execute them both at the same time, and that ultimately is what did him in. Taking a look at the army, you can see how behind Sattini is. 850 minerals compared to a 2050 mineral army. Things are not looking good. Harvester count, you do see Sattini is a little bit ahead, so he will be able to macro up a much larger army, getting siege tanks, infernal pre-igniter as well. He needs to do a reactor swap in a little bit on this factory in order to double train Hellions, otherwise he's not going to be able to deal enough damage across multiple zealots here. 1 Marine simply just getting suiciding in order to get some sight here, but there is still 1 observer watching everything happening here. Siege tanks up on that high ground, ready to start blasting away. 1 barracks down over here as well, but there need to be some siege tanks here in order to protect off of these back rocks. And now Mana deciding not to push at this time as soon as he saw those 3 siege tanks siege up. 1 medevac currently being trained. Production wise, Amulet research, Psy Storm, a lot of Psy Storm will be coming in as we now see 3 High Templars wandering around. High Templars move relatively slowly, same speed as a Thor, and significantly slower than a Stalker, and Zealots with that Zealot charge upgrade. Zealot charge 2.75 even when they're not charging, so able to deal a lot of, able to move and keep up with that Stalker army, making those Zealots much more effective in the mid to late game. We now see Medevac Sattini sitting in his base trying to macro up a larger army, but Mana, realizing what his opponent is trying to do, decides to set up an expansion of his own here at the 9 o'clock position. So as soon as Mana is able to mine out of this location, which he should be in just a moment, you can see these mineral patches are starting to get bare, down to 300 minerals on some of them here. So as soon as these mineral patches start to get bare, he will be able to transfer them here. We will see how this works. Mana also getting some static defense as well, and now going for that robotics bay, and now late game Protoss. So difficult for a Terran player to try to get back from. What the Terran player needed to do, or what Sattini needed to do, is move out and set up a planetary fortress here. Hellions now on the move. Those Hellions quickly taking down one of those probes there, and now a photon cannon getting a quick shot off. These Hellions are going to try to deal some damage. You can already see Stalkers quickly warping in, and now those Hellions revealing themselves just a little bit too early will not be able to get any damage dealt. So nice timing by Mana, setting up a gateway and a pylon, ensuring that those Hellions were going to get stuck over here. Are these Hellions going to be able to hide? Stalkers now on the move. Stalkers quickly being able to scout out those Hellions there, realizing that those Hellions did not come back into this position. Hellions now trying to run around, and they may be able to get some damage out. This is going to be very critical, how many probes they can kill. Oh, it's Psystorm dealing a lot of damage. Two of those Hellions quickly getting taken down, and now down goes that last one there. However, now we see another Marines trying to move in, trying to use that stim pack to take down some of those units there, and now moving around pretty effectively. We do see one High Templar coming in, and are we going to get a feedback onto the medevac? Down goes that the medevac, down to 8 hit points. There it goes. Marines trying to run away, but things really not looking good any further. Siege tanks on the move, army-wise, 3925 versus 3700. Marines now trying to come back into this game. However, with those Colossi now coming online and no Vikings in the air, it will be very difficult. We do have one Archon also emerged as well. Siege tanks now on the move. We also have Ghosts, so those Ghosts will be able to get off some EMP shockwaves. And the critical question will be how many Colossi are trained. If it's only one, and that is not critical mass enough in order to deal with this large infantry army. Siege tanks now are able to start blasting away as well. Ghost down over here. I do not see any nukes being in those silos just quite yet. Siege tanks, one of them too far behind. As these Marines and Marauders trying to fight back, in comes another Psystorm there, and in comes a blast here. So those Ghosts able to get off a couple of critical EMP shockwaves, and now fighting back. However, those Zealots zeroing with that Zealot charge and able to deal a lot of damage. A lot of those Stalkers now, Mana overexposing themselves in that fight so far, as these Marines and Hellions trying to finish off this army, and a great job done by Sattini. Wow, Mana overexposing themselves, even though he had the Observer in the air. He just ran into a line of Siege tanks. In comes a Psystorm here trying to deal multiple damage. We do not see any additional Hellions. More Marauders trying to come back, trying to engage. And I believe Sattini is just going to be able to take down this expansion very easily. The probes are being returned home, trying to run back. And I believe now Mana and Sattini are once again fighting on equal footing resource-wise. Oh, one High Templar quickly getting taken down there, unable to even get off one Psystorm. And now that was a very heavy hit. These Siege tanks offering plenty of support, and these Marines and Marauders were able to just get to the damage they wanted to deal. And nicely done. 5 Siege tanks, 7 Siege tanks, completely changing the outcome of that battle, especially with 1 to 3 EMP shockwaves. Very, very critical in that early fight. Now we see High Templars now trying to move back up over here. One Colossus standing tall, and now a second Colossus currently being trained. It needs to be Chrono Boost. This may be the last stand for Mana as the army is slowly making its way over. We do have a couple Siege tanks here, and now some medevacs over here. So if it is another split attack, Hellions along this side with another charge in through that front door, it may be effective. High Templars and Zealots now making their way over here. I'm not quite sure if the range on a Psystorm, if you can Psystorm a group over here, I do not think is actually quite that long. We now see the planetary fortress being set up by Sattini, and then once there's 2 or 3 siege tanks here, the game will completely change. And as what Sattini is going to be able to get up a very, very strong economy, and I'm going to have to study this replay if Sattini is able to get back into this game, whether or not it was Mouse Mana just overexposing himself. Siege tanks not in siege mode, now trying to siege up. Will this fight be enough? EMP Shockwave dealing a lot of damage, depleting all the shields there. All the siege tanks have been taken down, but the Marauders are sheer numbers so far as both sides continue this fight back and forth. Marauders, massive numbers, not enough Colossi, and now with only two Colossi, unable to get enough damage, especially with so many medevacs in the air. 9 medevacs in the air, able to clean up this fight. So Mouse Mana says GG. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed Game 1 in this series. Stay tuned for Game 2.